Unknown Substances Lab. In this Unknown Substances Lab, we did many steps in order to narrow down our substances. First, we gathered all of our materials and information that we needed in order to complete the lab. After that, we had two unknown substances that we were given by Mr. Smith. These unknown substances were labeled Unknown Substance Number 21 and Unknown Substance Number 20. In order to find out the names of our unknown substances, we conducted an odor, color, solubility, and flame test. Before we started our tests, we had to collect our materials. We collected 2 beakers, Q-tips, crucible tongs, a Bunsen burner, a striker. We used ionized distilled water, and we also used a spoon. After the material collection was complete, we started the lab. Our first test was the color or visual inspection test. And from the color test, we essentially just looked at the elements and were able to deduce that substance 21 had a very sugary makeup of an abundance of small particles that were situated right next to each other and were very compact in nature. From substance number 20, the group was able to determine that the particles were much more compact and they kind of looked like flour when combined. The substance itself was very powdery in nature, and it seemed almost as if it looked like small water molecules at times. After the color test or visual inspection test was complete, the group went and started the flame test. And to go through a quick overview of the flame test, the group had to attach a flame tube to the gas valve and then turned it until it was perpendicular. This released the gas. Afterwards, we used a striker and effectively used it in order to start a flame. Then, we used a crucible tong, grabbed some Q-tips using the crucible tong, and then dipped those Q-tips into the different substances, both 20 and 21, and then held those substances up to the flame. When the flame test was done for substance number 20, the group noticed that it yielded a very hot pink flame that was at an extremely high intensity, and the flame later changed to a dark red color as it died out. When the group held substance number 21 to the flame, the group noticed that it was a bright orange flame at a very high intensity and made a very audible crackling noise. The group used the colors that were observed in the different flame tests to hypothesize that element number 20 was strontium chloride or SrCl2, while element number 21 was calcium chloride or CaCl2. And to finally end the flame test, we turned the valve back to its original horizontal position and then placed all the burnt Q-tips back in the beaker. After the flame test, an odor test was conducted. In the odor test, each group member wafted the smell of each unknown substance into their nose. The group was expecting good results. However, the group was also surprised to learn that there were no distinct pungent smells that separated the different substances from each other. Therefore, the odor test did very little to help the group minimize their window of what they thought the substance would be. Finally, a solubility test was conducted. In the solubility test, 2 beakers, each full of 10 milliliters of distilled water, were used. First, a small spoon of each substance was taken and put into the beaker. And we then tried to mix that substance in the beaker to see if it would dissolve. And then from this experiment, we noticed that some substance number 20 dissolved after the big chunks of the particle were crushed into smaller particles, and substance 21 dissolved a lot easier and a lot quicker, and the particles rested at the bottom of the beaker.
Disposal methods. So after we finish the test, we clean up. We put the burnt Q-tips from the flame test in a big beaker. This was crucial in order to avoid any fires starting by putting them in a giant trash can. We made sure that our hands were dry before we pulled the plug of the Bunsen burner that was used in the flame test. The extra chemicals were disposed of in the chemical waste containers. We dumped all the water with the dissolved substance down the drain, and we have put the crunchers and beakers back in the right spot in our numbered group basket. The faucet hose was used in order to effectively rinse all of the materials and make sure that they were cleaning out substances.
There are STF concerns in this experiment, such as not touching the chemicals or tasting them. They can be major health hazards. These chemicals are corrosive and cause skin irritation. What the group could have done to improve the unknown process. Determining the unknown process could have been a lot easier if some slight tweaks were made during the test. These particular tweaks involve differences in the odor test. The odor test could have yielded slightly different results that would have been more helpful to the group as a whole if the unknown process were wafted after they were dissolved in water. Because the substances by themselves didn't have their own distinct odor, the solubility test could have been more efficient if the group was able to somehow put the same amount of each substance in the beaker while they were measuring it. Having the same amount of the particular substance will lead to more accurate results because it might be harder to dissolve a substance based on the amount of substance in a liquid.
We have potential further questions about this lab. We tried to conduct an anion test, but it failed. There are no observable changes in the color of the substance. Therefore, the test couldn't be narrowed down to search results. It wasn't mentioned in the other part of this video because it wasn't useful in finding the names of the unknown testers. This leads us to one of our questions, which is, could no change in color be used in order to eliminate certain elements that make up a particular substance? Are there some easier ways to classify elements more quickly? And our final question is there a way to use gases in order to conduct tests for some unknown substances?
To reiterate one more time, our substance number 20 turned out to be strontium chloride and was backed up through each of our 4 main tests, which were odor, solubility, flame, and the color test. Additionally, substance 21 was calcium chloride, or CaCl2, and was also backed up by these 4 tests.